What it do, snackers, snackettes, and snack X's? Your boy Gage is here with Sincere 619,
Is there?
as they call him in the streets. Um, we are going live on a what would feel like a random Sunday,
Right.
um, because this is the Sunday that in the past would technically have normally kicked off E3 week,
Correct.
but things are a little backwards. Summer Game Fest has, I think it's come and gone. There's been a lot of showcases and
hmm
whatever. Really, what it is we're here to do is to discuss at least the PlayStation State of Play that came last week, last Wednesday,
hmm
the Summer Game Fest showcase that happened on Friday, and of course there was like the Future Game Show, and like there was all kinds of other stuff that happened in along with that, as well as like the indie game shows, and then the Xbox showcase slash Outer Worlds slash Grounded 2 direct,
Right.
which was a surprise
hmm
hit. And what I think is probably the best thing to do is to we're gonna approach this from a couple of different standpoints. We'll go through. I don't. We're not gonna go through each and everything moment by
hmm
moment. That's a little too much. Um, what we're gonna do is talk about the things that were our favorites from each of the three major showcases. So State of Play, SGF, and Xbox. Slash Outer Worlds. So we'll talk about some of our favorites, things that we thought worked and didn't work from each showcase, and then we'll give grades to those showcases, and then I think we should probably give a grade like overall to how we feel about just all of what we've heard and seen over the past week and kind of what it means for the rest of 2025 and through 2026. Does that sound fair? Does
Yeah.
that sound like
Yeah. That sounds
probably where
fair.
it should be?
Yeah.
All right. So let's start with what I was really the first surprise, which was the PlayStation State of Play. They announced it the day before and
hmm
then just dropped it. So clearly they have been working on it. They didn't bother to say anything. I guess I kind of want to actually dig in a little bit. What do you think about that as an approach? Sin, like not saying anything up front and just kind of like the day before, just be like, oh yeah, we're doing a showcase tomorrow. How do you feel about that? Do you think that that's a like it's a good strategy, or does it even matter to you?
I think when it comes to Summer Games Fest and everybody kind of doing these showcases and stuff, I think they should have announced it earlier.
Mhm.
I'm not against them kind of dropping the last minute any other time, but I think with this and everybody was kind of looking to see if they were going to have something or do something. I think it'd be good to put that out to the public, letting them know that as early as possible that yes, we will be doing something during that time frame. I think they should have
Yeah.
said something before, yeah, instead of just waiting to the last minute to drop because it threw everybody kind of for a loop. Like they didn't say anything; it just happened, just dropping right the last minute. It's coming out tomorrow. It kind of threw everybody off a little bit, so people might have came in to watching it feeling differently or whatever, like not having faith in it or something about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think they should have said something a little bit earlier just to get people in the mindset prepared for it.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a part of me that does agree to some extent. What I think though, I think what's different outside of Xbox, I feel like being Microsoft, they just kind of move with a cadence that is relatively predictable. Like they just kind of like this is what we do every year. We always announce at this time of year that on this Sunday we're going to do our show. There's always a showcase after our main show. This is what we do. This is who we are. You kind of know what to expect.
hmm
I do think that even though they've been very direct about what they're doing as a company, they have been working consistently to really kind of upend the way the industry in gaming has worked. Um, And so I wasn't surprised that they announced early, this is when we're going, right? And then they'll figure out what's going to be in the showcase and blah, blah, blah as we get closer and closer to it, right? We know that they generally start working on that kind of stuff in like January or earlier, right? Maybe end of December. What I think is very unique about this year as it pertains to not just Summer Game Fest, but to big players like PlayStation and Xbox, and to some extent Nintendo, because it is a little strange that there's no Nintendo Treehouse. At least they haven't announced anything, and that does tend to happen on the Monday/Tuesday after the Xbox showcase in previous years with E3 and what have you. I think that the biggest factor in even PlayStation waiting until the last minute to say they're having a showcase was honestly probably Grand Theft Auto 6. And nobody knowing for sure if they were coming out this year, and more importantly, when exactly this year they were coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And having only announced like 2 to 3 weeks before we got to this point that they were not coming out this year, we are delayed to 2026. I think what that did was that made a lot of people feel like, well, we can go ahead and free up our schedules and go ahead and announce that we're going to have something this year. And let's go ahead and show this trailer and kind of feel a little bit more comfortable about putting things out in front of people. Without being as concerned about announcing it, saying this is our date, and then feeling like they have to move it, right? Or being in a position where you're like, why bother showing it, even if we would release it this year, if we're going to push it back as soon as we find out what Grand Theft's date is. And I think Rockstar did an incredible service to the entire industry by making sure they came out ahead of it all, so that, and having the respect to give everybody else the space to say, cool, this is when we're coming out. We can change our financials. We can, you know what I mean, actually announce that we're going to do A, B, and C. I think that has that plays a really big factor in, a company as large as PlayStation waiting until the very last minute to say, we're just going to go tomorrow. And I could imagine that there was a team that was working on it going, well, let's announce it, but then let's just go ahead and drop it like next Monday or next Tuesday, like we normally would after whatever Xbox does. But I do think that there's a certain amount of confidence with PlayStation now, and where they are, that's a little bit different. And just being like, what we have is what we have. And we're confident in what we have. So yeah, we're going to announce it today and we're going to drop it tomorrow. You know what I mean? And then everything else that's coming along, we'll deal with that. We could always put something out next week, or we could always do a separate, thing later on.
True.
So while I'm not a huge fan of them doing it that way under the circumstances of what the week is technically, I think that it was maybe a little outside of their control not outside of their control, because obviously they can say whatever they want when they're ready. But having Grand Theft get out of the way, I think changed a lot of what we got to see at Summer Game Fest. I think it changed a lot of what PlayStation actually decided to present at the State of Play, and probably also had a major effect on Xbox with them announcing like multiple games that are coming at the end of this year. So, let's just get into the State of Play. It looks like you're running back some footage and looking at some stuff. What's going on?
Well, actually, it was for the Xbox One I was looking for. I didn't get the name of something I wanted to bring up, and I was trying to find the name of it. That's what I was trying to do. But as far as the State of Play goes, I thought the State of Play was pretty solid. They had a few things that piqued my interest, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can just go ahead and hit the elephant in the room and talk about this Marvel fighting game off the break. Like, we could just go ahead and do that.
Come on, that was one hell of a closer. I'm sorry, nobody saw that coming. But Arc System works with a Marvel 4-on-4 2D fighter. Are you kidding me? Like, let's go all day. I was just as hyped as I've seen everybody else reacting to it. Like, I was in the car watching it. Like, yes, like, let's go. Did not see that coming, but was very pleasantly pleased and surprised by that, and cannot wait to get my hands on it whatsoever. And I'm definitely looking forward to see what other Marvel superheroes are in it. Superheroes and villains are in it.
I'm excited about them just saying there's going to be a cadence of drops, and we'll be over time announcing. And this is the thing. My only real gripe with this is that I don't think this game is anywhere near ready to come out. I think we're talking 2 to 3 years. before we see this game. That's probably my biggest gripe with it
Mm-hmm.
is that. Outside of that, I have become a much bigger proponent of this kind of thing being available to the most players possible. And I'm not a fan of locking something like this down to a singular platform.
Yeah.
You know, Sony has a huge stake in the fighting game community, right? With the purchases that they've made,
Mm-hmm.
Evo and all that kind of stuff. And them coming out and being like, we're putting out a fighting stick. Like in the middle of the broadcast, like,
Yeah.
oh, here's a little sexy fighting stick, PlayStation's first ever, arcade fighting stick, which I think is dope.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that matters, right? Like I think that like if you're gonna tell the fighting game community that you're invested in fighting games, yeah, you should have a fight stick.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
That's your thing. I'm very interested. I haven't seen anything about the price or any of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this: I think it looks beautiful. Like I'm a super fan of like just the clear buttons with the like. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
super fan of what it looks like. This is though, I will tell you, the one game that they announced that I was like, if I didn't have a PlayStation, I would buy a
You buy one just for this one.
I would buy a PlayStation for this game. 100%. Knowing that they're like, we need to have a thing. And here's my thing. It took years, but the first thing that came to mind for me when this happened, and I was like, man, a fighting game. When you think about the fighting community and what that is, but we can't pretend that like Microsoft didn't have Killer Instinct. You know what I mean? And like that was their thing like a decade ago. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
There are tons of fighting games that are only available on PlayStation. This is a little different because it's their thing and it's Marvel. And if you're gonna go after Marvel versus Capcom's launch, which they clearly
Yeah. I'm looking at the moves. I'm like, a lot of those are ripped off straight from Marvel's Capcom.
And so I will say this: that's a problem I have with this joint. Like, sure, you know what I mean. Do your thing? Try to put your own twist on it. Come up with your own character designs. I'm very interested in seeing how the game itself plays and works. I'm cool with the idea of 4v4, but I'm gonna be a hater when I see things and I'm like, that's Marvel vs. Capcom. Y'all not really doing the thing I really want y'all to do, which is like truly put your own name and your own spin on this and make it feel like it needs to feel and look like it's something different from what Capcom could have and or would have done. Right now, I don't see that, but I'm excited about it because it's the characters and it's 4v4, and I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
But that definitely was probably the biggest thing of everything that I saw.
Yeah.
I'm gonna also say that probably the biggest thing I was surprised by at this showcase overall. You're smiling like you know what like you know what
I'm hoping I know what it is, but I could be wrong.
It's you won't know. I was extremely surprised at the amount of PlayStation VR stuff that was shown. I was not in my head. I'm like, PlayStation VR is dead. They don't
Me
care.
too. Yeah.
It's done. It's over. And when they showed like Thief VR, I was like,
so y'all doing that?
Oh,
okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you care? Like, yeah, people spend a lot of money and they, you know what I mean? Like, do something for it. I was very surprised by that. But Sam, what are some of your standouts? Like, is there anything you felt like didn't work or wasn't good or wasn't worth showing here? Not necessarily games that aren't your style of game, but I just mean in terms of like the showcase.
We could have done without the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. We could have done without that. I did not need to see that and waste time with that.
I ain't gonna lie, I was kind of amped for that.
I was good on that.
And you know what? You know why though?
Why?
Because they showed John Tobias and Ed Boon together, and them dudes, like, it's like y'all don't even talk. I don't think like y'all do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just feel like because we've seen Ed Boon for years. Tobias went off and made what was the name of that? He had a fighting game that came out on the original Xbox. That like Tao Fang, something like that. I ain't heard a dude since. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't know. It was just kind of cool. And then to be honest, the company that makes those collections, they do really good work. I like that stuff. And the idea of having access to not just the arcade versions of the games, but like everything, the Genesis version, the SNES versions, the Game Gear versions, the game. I just think that's cool. And I think in terms of like stuff like that is important to me in a different way when we really start talking about like the preservation of video games, like in terms of history, like just that kind of thing. I love that, and kind of getting those behind the scenes and the videos and having them maybe up res and whatever. I just think it's kind of cool. But you're right, we could have done without it. They could have announced that joint anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a major thing for PlayStation to have for sure. But what else?
Pragmata, I like. That's probably a day one for me. I gotta learn more about it, but I did like Pragmata. Romeo's a Dead Man. I wasn't sure when it first started. I was like, what is this? The second I saw it was done by Suda51, I was like, okay, I'm all in. Yeah, I like
I knew
his
the
stuff.
minute I saw it was a Suda51 joint. I was like, this joint looks like No More Heroes. I know that's what this is. I knew it was in that unit, like that it was that creative team immediately. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but that's what I got happy about. That I was like, all right, that's most likely a definite for me. Final Fantasy Tactics remake coming out. I was through the moon when I saw that. I was like, yes.
Is that what you thought I was going to get excited about?
I did thought it was going to be the Final Fantasy Tactics. Yeah, but I was happy to see that coming back, full audio and all that kind of stuff. That's a day one definitely for me when that comes out. Never completed the original one. It was very difficult. No, it was tough for me back in the day. That thing was whooping my ass.
Bro, I love that game.
And I love the game, but I need some payback. So
okay.
Now's the right time for that with me. Looking at the list of other stuff that was there.
I think we could have done without baby steps, whatever that.
You know what? As weird as it is, the first thing that popped in my head was watching streamers play this online will probably be fun as hell, depending on who the streamer is.
Correct.
But not for me, but I will watch people play this and probably have a ball laughing at them trying to play this game. That's the first thing I thought about. 007 First Light looks great. That looks really dope, and I'm really excited to get my hands on it. Does it, though? It does to me. It looks like a lot of fun.
All right, look, here's the thing. You know I'm a Hitman fan. Love Hitman. Yeah. Love that IO is doing it and getting a chance to take a crack at what James Bond is, right? I ain't even gonna hold you. My mother literally stopped me today and was like, you know what I just watched again? My favorite movie. Agent 47, Hitman. Like she loved it. She loved it. She was like, I'm trying to tell you, when y'all put that list together next year for movie club. All right. Here's the thing. I don't know that we really saw what the gameplay is gonna be and how the game is really gonna work. And I think right now it's cool. We have some cinematics. I'm interested in the story. I like the idea of a James Bond that is like getting his feet wet, like getting that kind of Batman Begins version of a James Bond. I like it. I think the cinematics are cool. I'm not overly impressed yet. I like the crossover with the Bond villains and Hitman. I think that's cool with Mads Mikkelsen. But I don't know what this game is yet. I don't know how it plays. I don't know what you really do. I watched the IO Interactive. Like they had their own showcase that same day. And I don't really feel like I got any more information than technically what we already had. And so, like, while I am very interested in it, and because it's IO, it's probably automatically a day one for me. I'm still not sure exactly what we're doing. Like, talk to me about gadgets. Talk to me about sneaking. Talk to me about, like, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? And so because I don't have that yet, I'm just not sure. That's all. Like, I mean, it doesn't look bad, you know what I mean, or anything like that. It's just that I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what kind of game this is. I can just assume that it's like an Uncharted, but I don't. You know what I'm saying? That's all. I don't think we really got anything. I don't feel like we got anything significant, for real. So, and I also feel like that means that the game is much further out than I'd like for it to be. So, what else you got?
Other than those specifically, mostly everything else was like oh, that was cool. I can give that a try or not at all for me type of thing. Like,
Okay.
okay, that pops up in the catalog. That looks like it might be fun. I don't have to pay for it. I can download it, give it a shot, and try it out. Whatever. Things like that. But nothing that the ones I've said were the ones that were definite. It's like, yes, I want those day one when those come out. Half the other stuff was like I said, oh, that was cool. Like I can see myself giving that a try. Things like that, or just a
Yeah.
not at all for me. That pretty much ran for my take the rest of the state of play.
Yeah, look, I think opening with a new Luminous game was cool. I'm not a huge fan of Luminous, but I immediately looked at it and I was like, who's letting the Luminous folks literally steal the Tetris Effect
Tetris,
joint?
yeah,
Then for them to be like, oh, it's the same team that made Tetris Effect, I was like, oh, okay.
that makes sense. Yeah.
I'll let it slide. Pragmata. We learned about that game probably 4 or 5 years ago. And it was just that weird trailer with the cat and the girl, and you know what I mean? And like we didn't know anything about it. It was supposed to have been out like 2 or 3 years ago. And it just kind of went silent. And so to actually see it and see some gameplay, and you know, like I have no idea what's happening. I don't really know what's going on. I prefer to get some more information of it. It looks good, but I don't know what it is. What I will tell you is there are certain things about Capcom and the way that they make games, and like there's a certain kind of specific like jankiness and movement and look.
You know a Capcom game when you see it.
Like that. And I looked at that joint and I was like, oh my God, it's Lost Planet, dog.
It's Capcom, yeah.
Lost Planet, dog. Like that joint. And I was like, you know what? You got me. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm whatever it is, it feels to me like they're taking Lost Planet and they're trying to make it whatever the F it is that Kojima is always doing, which is just some kind of none of it has to make sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just do it. So I thought that was cool. Romeo is a dead man. I think the action is going to be dope. You know, Suda does some wild
stuff. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Whatever. I am on board for Final Fantasy Tactics. I'll say that. Hiragami looked interesting to me. Which was like the origami paper folk that were moving, running around. I just like stuff like that kind of looks interesting with the world and kind of the art style or whatever. I could live without it, but it looks cool. Yeah, outside of that, man, honestly, the season of Remnants is interesting. Whatever this kind of like multiplayer story driven kind of thing where they're like underwater and people are dying, or you're kind of playing multiplayer to help in these different worlds achieve these different things. Like, again, I don't feel like we got a great explanation of what it is, but I'm interested in people attempting to do something different with the idea of multiplayer and co-op and trying to like coexist in that space. I think that's cool. So we'll see how that is. Outside of that, again, you know, look, bro, if you stick Spider-Man in a trailer, bro, you know what I'm saying, and let him punch people and talk trash, you know, I'm very interested in seeing what direction this game actually goes, because currently, and again, it's like got to be super far out, right? So we saw 8 characters.
Yes.
And of those characters, like everybody speaking in Japanese. All of what they're doing kind of has that like Japanese kind of look and twist to it. And so I am wondering, even the name, right, kind of feels like it's kind of firmly in that space. And so it is making me wonder whether or not there's going to be an English voice cast, if there's going to be a different sound, if they're going to do different things. Like reading on the bottom of the screen when Star-Lord says, "My name's Star-Lord," remember, the name is not the same as like hearing him say it when you're playing the fighting game. And so I am wondering just kind of like what that really means versus how far along they actually are in the game and the mechanics. And I think they're going to have, to be honest, an uphill battle with games like 2XKO coming out and just some of the other things we're seeing in the fighting game, you know, in that realm. But definitely cool to see. Super unexpected. Real talk, probably the biggest surprise of the entire thing, of everything we saw from SGF. That's probably the biggest surprise. So definitely a leg up, and props to them for that. Let's talk about SGF. Let me go to my SGF notes. Um, let me get some of my gripes with Summer Game Fest as a showcase out of the way up front.
Do it.
Look, hot takes. Not a big fan of Jeff Keighley as a presenter, or as a host. I've said it before.
Mm-hmm.
I think he needs to get out of his own way. I just think he needs to move out of the way. I think Lucy James, I really like Lucy James from GameSpot. I think she did an incredible job hosting next to him. He tends to, like with the game awards, he's the host, and then he kind of has somebody off that does a couple of announcements, kind of thing. That's what he usually does with Sydney Goodman.
Right.
I think having somebody that was there, more of an actual host, was really good. I recognize that he likes to save what he feels like are the biggest announcements or the coolest moments for himself. I'm not really a fan of, like, it just doesn't, it feels like it's a lot of service for him and not necessarily a lot of service for the industry or for what's happening. And I think he needs to get out of his own way. Having said that, I think there's an incredible amount of work that goes into putting something together like this. And Jeff Keighley trying to take control of the industry in an industry that is really looking to have a lot of individuals do things on their own. Like Xbox will always be able to have their own showcase, and PlayStation will always be able to have their own showcase, and you're not really locking down Nintendo. Those are the three major platform holders. And a lot of the other publishers are in a place where they can kind of hold their own showcases and don't really need to have something like what Summer Games Fest is in order to do it, in order to like show what they have. I think that most of the people who are doing something like that are doing it to kind of hold on to tradition. Um, but like just kind of watching them kind of ape and say like, here is a full-on broadcast Summer Game Fest thing, and kind of make it seem like the PlayStation Showcase was part of Summer Game Fest, when it's like, I don't really think that is.
Mm-hmm.
And like the Xbox doing this part of Summer Game Fest, and like, no, I don't really think that's what this is. If you go to the Summer Game Fest website, like they have a calendar, which is cool, of all the different showcases and all the different stuff that's there and when it's going to be shown, and you can save it to your account or whatever. But it's also that they're also like simul broadcasting somebody else's thing, and those calendar saves are just going to take you to their showing of that joint on their channel, which is kind of like you're just kind of aping it. So, getting that out of the way, doing something live like that in front of an actual audience, where what you hear from people is their honest to goodness true reactions to what they're seeing, and the fact that the majority of those people are industry folks, I think is really cool. Um there are a few standouts. Do you have any gripes with the presentation or anything like that to begin with?
Not necessarily,
Okay.
but I like hearing you talk about the whole Jeff Keighley thing. I can see it, like when you're bringing that stuff up. So I see what you're talking about. But overall, no, I didn't have any like real big gripes with the presentation or anything like that. No, it was more so locked in. Like, all right, what are y'all showing versus what we've already seen before? That type of stuff. Like, all right, what are you showing us new, or things of that nature. So trying to lock in and see if they were giving us some good stuff to look forward to.
And how
Which,
did you feel about it? Did they do that?
in some aspects, they did to me. Like, for real, I thought it was kind of mid, honestly, overall.
I'd
So
agree.
they did have some things that like definitely piqued my interest, and I'm looking forward to. Let's see, Code Vein 2. Okay, I was excited when I saw that. That looked right up my alley. Looked pretty cool. Uh, the Game of Thrones War of Westeros real time strategy one. I want to know more about that one, because it's looking like you're supposed to be able to, I guess, like alter what happened in it or something like that. So I want to know more about it before I get super excited about it. But
Yeah.
it did pique my interest to want to look forward to it. Come on. Onimushu looked good. We've seen that before, but we saw something new from it, so that looked good. Killer Inn seems very interesting. That's something else I would watch streamers play together, but don't know if I'll play it myself. Like 24 people. It's like Clue locked in a hotel. You're trying to kill each other and gather clues and put it all together. That seems like it could be a lot of fun, like even for like some extra life type of stuff.
Sure.
But it seems like it could be a lot of fun. So looking forward to seeing people mess with that. Felt that boxing was one of the most interesting things I saw during the whole presentation with the puppets. I would give it a shot.
Yeah,
I would give it a shot just to see. I don't think I would like buy it honestly, but like
I mean,
it
I love the
looks,
look of it.
yeah, like it looks,
Yeah,
it looks unique. It looks very, very unique. I know I'm gonna miss some things on here. Seven Deadly Sins Origins. I'm definitely all aboard on that.
I believe that.
Yeah. Scott Pilgrim EX. Yes.
Let's talk about how that was the best joint shown at this entire thing. I ain't even gonna hold you. I ain't even gonna hold you. The
I wish
one
I could agree
time,
with you, but okay.
not bro. Listen, the one time I was like, when I saw it, like actually opened my mouth in a room by myself and said, "Stop playing with me." Right? 4-player co-op. Scott Pilgrim beat him up. I need it. Like I need it. Like it just all right. New story. You know what I mean? Like I was like, all right, this is what I was waiting for. Like this is something new we hadn't seen. That also is like we've been waiting for this kind of a joint. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I was amped for that. Continue.
Yeah. And I'll just jump right to the end. With the announcement of the Century joint, I can't think of what the old name was, but getting a new title, Stranger Than Heaven. I am
Yeah.
so
Originally it was Project Century, but
Project
yeah.
Century, that's what it was, yeah. Because I was gonna say that when we talked about it. I was gonna say that I was thinking it's either gonna be that or Virtue Fighter, because they both showed them at the same time. I was like, they're doing stuff with Virtue Fighter right now. We're seeing diaries and some of that come out, so that's why I initially just leaned towards Virtue Fighter, but I was hoping to see this, so I'm glad I got to see it, get a little bit more trailer and stuff. Through the roof, let's go. And Resident Evil 9 Requiem, they might have me back in the Resident Evil. I got to see some gameplay.
Lies, bro.
I got to see some gameplay. If it goes back to third person over the shoulder, I might be back.
I'm gonna tell you like this. Going back to Raccoon City, like after the bomb went off, I'm like, yeah. Show me those old familiar areas that I've walked through before, and like what? Yeah, like now, like we could really do something with that.
Yeah, it sounds like it might be more open worldish kind of thing or whatever. Like they're doing something new with it, so I'm looking forward to actually see it in action.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same place where I'm like, they're saying themselves that like they're doing something brand new with Resident Evil, which I think is it's time. You know what I mean? And I can appreciate that. There's a part of me that's wondering if there's going to be some multiplayer elements to it.
Okay.
I actually think that might be something that they're leaning into. They've done a lot of multiplayer things in the Resident Evil world that just don't really
they haven't worked
super well. But I think that doing something like maybe mainline or in a campaign or something like that might work. I'm going to tell you that probably my biggest issue with what I feel like the showcase itself was relatively boring. It's not even so much that there are games that really aren't for me or whatever. I'm just honestly with this industry, I'm so over these Souls likes.
Yeah.
I'm so over these Souls likes. I don't know what to do. I don't care about them. I never got into Dark Souls, never got into Demon Souls. I'm not gonna get into them. I don't have major issues with the difficulty thing or whatever it is. That's cool. I'm okay with that to an extent. However, just the sheer number of games that are trying to not just ape the gameplay style, which is cool. Like if it is a new genre, quote unquote, everybody does it. FPSs are everywhere now. Tactics games are everywhere now. Like I get that. My thing is, why do they all have to look the same? Why they all have to be super dark and have these really weird kind of creatures or whatever? Why can't you could do a Souls game where there's fighting, where it's brighter, or the creatures are different, or it takes place in a different place, and like everything just looks and feels the same. And to be honest, I don't really think you can really discern one game from another for the most part, right?
I can admit I get turned off when I see those type of games now. Like as soon as the trailer starts, I'm like, oh, another Souls type. Like,
Yeah, like we opened the joint with Mortal Shell, and like I
mhm.
know the Mortal Shell 2, and like Mortal Shell was one of those early joints that jumped on kind of the Souls thing. So there's a certain level of respect for like getting in there kind of early and doing something similar or whatever. But like, I don't know, go to a different place, change up the look, just do something different. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And I just don't feel like we're getting that in that space. And so like as a hater, because I can admit that, right? Like, and when I say that, I mean just kind of coming from a place where like the games aren't for me. I don't play the games. I'm not into the games. And for the people who are really into the games, maybe that aesthetic really is part of it too. You know what I mean? Like, I just what they do in Elden Ring and what they do in Bloodborne and what they do, like they don't. It doesn't really speak to me specifically. But I do think that there's a space where the genre itself could be opened and maybe could do something different if they put different characters in place, or if they, you know what I mean, like if they just kind of change that kind of thing up. So that's just kind of where I am on it. And I just feel like they showed a lot of stuff that looked like that. And I think that makes it boring because a lot of it looks the same and you just don't know what's the difference between what you're looking at and what you're getting. Lego Party, I thought was cool. I'm not super excited about it, but it's cool. It's another party game. It is what it is. Um, I thought Ill was really cool. Wildgate looked good. Mecha Break, getting a date for July 1st.
yes.
I'm all in with that. Um, the Nicktoons Dice of Destiny. I don't really have a place in my heart for Nicktoons. Like what the characters and stuff that they generally have in those joints don't like really they're for a younger generation than where I sit. Like I don't really SpongeBob. I don't, you know what I mean? But I get it that like those things. But I do think that it's an interesting place to go with characters, and I think stuff like that is important for bringing people who might not play a genre like that into that genre. Mafia the Old Country, I'm all in.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Um, Out of Words, co-op platformer. Um, that joint might be a problem. Uh, I'm with that. We had man, there's a lot of stuff. I do think this presentation was maybe a little too long. Um,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, out of words. Yeah, yeah. That was dope.
Outside of that, man, I'm trying not to miss anything. Again, there was a lot of titles. Um, I even thought this Seven Deadly Sins joint looked dope. Showing that back to back with the One Punch Man, I feel like was a little. I feel like they could have split those apart. But
Yeah.
Mina the Hollower getting a release date was cool, October 31st. Deadpool VR.
We are still fighting to keep it alive.
Hey, listen, it's Deadpool. I guess there's something there. It's not really a thing for me, but I think it was interesting, and I like that they just kind of went hard. You know what I'm saying with it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Dying Light the Beast,
Yeah.
that joint looks incredible, so I might have to get with that. Um, yeah, new Street Fighter characters wasn't that big
Mm-hmm.
of a deal for me. Um, Last Flag I wasn't happy with, just kind of looked like a fake Fortnite, and I'll be honest, it's probably cool and it probably will be fun, but I think I think Epic's just gonna steal the mode and put it in Fortnite, and that joint's gonna be a wrap. Um, Wu Tang Rise of the Deceased.
Wu-Tang got a game. Didn't see
I
that
mean, we've
coming.
been knowing they had a game, but we just haven't had a chance to see it. Now, why they put Wu Chang Falling Feathers right before Wu
I,
Tang
somebody did on
Rise of the
purpose.
Deceiver?
Somebody did on purpose.
Somebody was playing around, bro.
Yeah.
Into the Unwell actually looked pretty interesting. I will say I'm very disappointed in the Split Gate 2 presentation, and the man who came on stage to talk about Split Gate 2
Oh
with
yeah.
his Make FPS Great Again joint, and just walking in and just like, I mean, I guess go hard in the paint if you feel like you need to go hard in the paint, but just like stepping in and talking trash about Call of Duty, and then I don't know. I didn't feel like it was a good look. I feel like they kind of have seen like what Joseph Ferris does and was like, I can out
Yeah.
Joseph Ferris.
No, you can't.
No, sir, you
You
cannot.
cannot.
Um, but yeah, bro. Stranger Than Heaven.
Yes, I need that so bad.
I
That that
feel like
that's gonna be a
I
day one for sure.
feel like that joint is a moment. Like I feel like that joint is going to be an industry
Mm.
defining, changing moment.
Look, I'm telling everybody out there, from someone who's played the vast majority of their games, they create some stellar, out of the park stories, and I don't think there's gonna be any different from what they do with the Yakuza franchise, the Like a Dragon franchise. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, this is a day one. Jump on it immediately. It's going to blow you away. I guarantee you.
And if you've been looking at the chat, I see there's some people popping in the chat. You usually jump on that. I haven't. Let me see.
I can't. I have nothing on my side.
All right. Yeah, a couple phones.
I can't
Love
even see that there are
Kid.
people in here.
BP. Ain't the first time you've done that stuff. My man's having some moments in here. Kate Dizzle's excited for Grounded 2.
Okay.
What's up, Heather?
That was a pleasant little surprise. Grounded 2.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna get to that. Being that showcase, that Xbox showcase was the most recent thing. Obviously, it's kind of the freshest thing that happened earlier today. We can kind of get into some of that. Seeing what you think overall of the Xbox showcase.
Overall, I thought it was okay. Overall, I don't
Okay.
think there was too much there for me personally, but I'm thinking about something. Oh, before we go, there's something I just thought of with what's the name that I really liked that we didn't talk about from the Summer Games Fest. And that was where I just saw it on my list. Oh, Atomic Heart 2 and The Cube. I'm really looking forward to those, like 100%. Atomic Heart 2 looked dope, and so did The Cube. So I'm looking to see more from those, definitely.
Here's what's weird. Atomic Heart kind of just came and went. I
Yeah,
played
it
it.
did.
It was interesting. I didn't beat it. You know what I mean? Like I didn't hate it, but it didn't really move the needle for me.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they're doing a 2, okay, let's step it up a notch. So you're right. It did. It did. It stood out some.
And also, yeah, I did think, yeah, 2, okay, it did that well to get a part 2, and then they followed it right up with The Cube, like in the same world, same universe, but more MMO type of shooter. I'm like, okay, I like the concept. I like it. It seems
trying to
pretty
do
cool.
something.
Yeah, like I'm down to give both of those a shot when they come out, definitely. But back to Xbox. Like I said, I thought it was all right for the most part. They had a couple things on there that definitely, piqued my personal interest. High on Life 2 did not see that coming. So one was pretty fun and hilarious. So I most likely definitely give High on Life 2 a shot when
I
it
was
comes
going to
out.
ask, did you play the first one? I don't remember you playing the
I
first
played it.
Okay.
I didn't like get too heavy or too deep into it, but yeah, I definitely loaded up and gave it a shot when it first dropped. It was pretty fun and pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
What else did they have on there that I enjoyed? Like I said, Grounded 2 was a pleasant surprise. Didn't see that coming, but like, okay, going to a new park, they add a whole bunch of new stuff. So looking forward to see what they're doing with that, because I did stick around for the stuff afterwards. I'm looking forward to that. Solo leveling, that's a given. Yes, that's just don't need to explain. It's solo leveling. Give it to me. There was something that came on right after Solo Leveling. I can't remember what the name was, but it was something anime based right before they went to Tony Hawk that I liked. I didn't catch the name of it though.
Before they went to wait.
It was in between Solo Leveling and Tony Hawk.
Oh, it's called Animo.
Okay, yeah, that thing. Yeah, so
Oh,
Animo.
That kind of strange, almost
Yeah.
Pokemon looking kind of.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's like a little cozy, comfy type of, nothing to think about. Just go pick up, go capture some stuff. Yeah, that looked kind of cool. So like, all right, Persona 4, that's a definite. Finally getting Final Fantasy 7 Intricate.
Eventually, like right. No real date. Like
no,
just,
but announced that it is actually coming, so that's good. Final Fantasy 16 dropped today. That's dope for people who haven't got their hands on that yet. Call of Duty, good trailer, but it's Call of Duty, so I don't really care. Like
I feel like that was the point, though. I think they were trying to get the people who don't care.
to care.
It all right. So I feel like part of where Call of Duty has fallen off is in the single player campaigns. And I think that they are, as a company, like maybe it's because Microsoft is at the helm, you know, having purchased Activision or whatever. Something about this trailer and having like an actual actor in it, which is not a brand new thing for Call of Duty,
No,
but I think
yeah.
that they are trying to get people who just don't care or don't normally jump in to do the multiplayer, or like are maybe put off by even trying to jump in and do the multiplayer. I also feel like there are a number of people who, like, the moment you say Call of Duty, they automatically think multiplayer, running around killing each other. What's my KDA? That, like, and there is zero appeal from a story standpoint of a person who's not interested in multiplayer. As soon as you say Call of Duty, I think Call of Duty has become so synonymous with first person shooter multiplayer versus
Hmm.
that when you say Call of Duty, nobody thinks about the story if you're not super in tune with like video games as a whole. And even though it's a major franchise and outsells everything every year, blah blah blah, I think that there are a couple of things at play. One, I think, is you need to appeal to the people who did play Call of Duty for the story and didn't care
Hmm.
about the multiplayer and might jump in and play for the story. Two, if you can get people who wouldn't normally touch a Call of Duty because when they hear Call of Duty, they only think versus multiplayer, Warzone, zombies. If you can show them something that might interest them in the actual story and show them that there's something else there and a reason to play outside of the multiplayer, you might actually get them to spend some money and some time playing the multiplayer because they're there already.
Hmm.
Right. So I think that I think there's something important about that. The other thing I want to point out specifically about Call of Duty is that it was very interesting to me that we're in the summer and we don't have a date for Call of Duty. And even though they said Black Ops 7, traditionally we have gone back and forth. We get Black Ops and then we get something else. We get
Hmm.
Ghost, or we get, you know what I mean? We get something
Yeah.
else. Announcing another Black Ops game right behind a Black Ops game that just came out also makes me think we're not getting this game this year. I don't think Black Ops 7 is coming this year. I think it's going to be later. Otherwise, why aren't you giving us a date right now? Right? And so even if by some chance you Call of Duty is the kind of game that, like, even if Grand Theft was dropping this year, Call of Duty still comes out. You know what I mean? It still does what it does. And so
Hmm.
I just think it was really interesting that they saved it for the very last thing. They only gave us a cinematic.
Yep.
And then they last year, this time, the showcase, the direct that they did after the showcase was Call of Duty Black Ops 6. This year they ended the showcase with Call of Duty Black Ops 7, and they're talking Outer Worlds, and they're talking about Outer Worlds 2 like it's their big game for the
Yeah.
end of this year. I, I don't know exactly what that means. So it'll be interesting to see. As far as the showcase for myself,
Hmm.
um, look, I probably shouldn't care, but for some reason, that Tony Hawk 3 and 4 joint got me. For some reason,
Okay.
I was just like, oh, well, all right. Like, all right, I get, oh, demo today. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll jump in
Hmm.
and, you know what I mean? See what's what. Eight, you said 8-player multiplayer. Oh, all right. Game Pass. Here's the thing about
Hey.
this presentation. So we've had many discussions about handheld gaming. We've talked about knowing that Xbox was doing something. We've seen the leaked photos of the Xbox handheld from Asus, the ROG, the ROG Ally. Having the Ally X. Um Look, I think it's cool. We don't have a price point. We only
Nope.
got winter, so we don't know when it's coming. They lean very heavily into like Hollow Knight Silk Song will be on Game Pass and available on this when you get it, right? Specifically calling out having like Windows and Xbox together in this one thing, really kind of pushing the idea of super pushing the idea of play anywhere. Like everything you see in this showcase, even if it's not in Game Pass,
It was Play
you
Anywhere.
buy it, play it wherever, like play anywhere, right? Um, really leaning into calling out like cross progression in something like the new Gears of War Reloaded, right? It's like, okay, you know what I mean? And them saying, like, look, this is what we're about. We're about you getting your games everywhere because you made the purchase, you spent the money, you only had to buy it once kind of thing. And I think that's important, right? Um, but the sheer number of games that were Game Pass, I honestly think is the highlight of what this is. So I wasn't like super in love with any specific thing that they showed necessarily, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm probably gonna play all of it because almost everything
Game Pass.
was in Game Pass. There's like, let me just do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So about 25 games, right? And I think there were only like 3 games that weren't specifically like Game Pass and day one,
Gotcha.
right? So here's what really stood out to me. I'm not super excited about Grounded. I didn't love the first Grounded, but again, if everybody's on in there playing, I'll jump in.
Mm-hmm.
We're not gonna keep playing it. I already know that, but I'll jump in. Like I'm glad to see them getting that. I'm loving that Obsidian is like, yeah, we're doing 3 games this year. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like we're on it. This is what that Microsoft money can really do. So I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure what all these other studios are doing, but we out here getting it.
We working.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Um, Resonance of Plague Tale. I like the Plague Tale games. This Resonance joint kind of stood out to me, only because it's like in the Plague Tale universe, but seems very different from what those other games are.
Mm-hmm.
Shooting mechanics and stuff like that, like none of that exists in a Plague Tale, and so very interested in seeing how that plays out. Um, Blood of Dawnwalker, the Bandai Namco joint with the vampires and all that, strictly cinematic. Hopefully, it's gonna be good, but it kind of piqued my interest a little bit. I love seeing Super Meat Boy get a 3D
That was kind of
killer
interesting.
update.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. You already know I'm on board for Ninja Gaiden 4. Indiana Jones DLC. I didn't finish Indiana Jones. I would love to have gotten through it, but I just didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Aphelion, which was a new joint from Don't Nod, who doesn't typically make games like that. So I was very interested in seeing them do something that's a little bit different. Planet Alana 2. I really enjoyed the first one. I did not complete it. What I did play of it was very interesting.
I did like the
Uh,
trailer. It made me want to go and play the first one. I'll say that.
first one's cool. Like it's cool, and I'm like
Okay.
now I'm like I really need to finish that and see what happens with the next. You know what I
Okay.
mean? I could care less about Fallout 76 and anything they do for that joint, but I understand. We have to talk about solo leveling. So
What about it?
here's the thing.
It looks like a cell phone game just being ported over.
Not the point.
Either way,
The point
playing it.
is we're in the same text thread. And in the text thread, my text was like solo leveling, 4-player co-op. Which right behind that text was in all caps solo leveling, as jokes tends to do.
Mm-hmm.
All caps is what he does.
He yells at us.
All caps, like 4 or 5 exclamation points. To which I responded, "You don't play co-op games."
Very true.
Now, if they had made this announcement and it wasn't co-op, I wouldn't care. However, under the circumstances, my interests are piqued.
When I saw the 4-player co-op and I saw 4 Sung Jin Woos, I was like, no, there's too many characters in here to just let everybody play the same dude. I don't like that. No, do more, do better.
It's probably gonna be trash, but whatever.
Oh, it probably is gonna be trash.
Listen, I'm not a Persona person. Persona 4 doesn't do anything for me, but I'm glad it's out there and people know Revival and this Game Pass. That's cool.
Yes.
Invincible Fighter, dog.
Gage, that's gonna be some trash.
Oh, 1 million
ass. And look, when I saw the cinematic, I was like, okay, let's go. The second they started fighting, I said, no, this is some bush. No, no, I can't do this.
I don't have plans for that joint working out at all.
None.
At all, bro. Here's what happened. In my head, I said, so PlayStation State of Play. They reveal Marvel Tokon Arc System Works joint. And at the Xbox showcase, you show this
Toshiden 2.
Who is making it?
I don't know, but it looks like garbage.
It's bloody. There's that. It's got some voice acting in it. There's that. But other than that,
that's all. It is not going to hold up in the fighting community at all. It looks terrible.
Definitely not. I wasn't real thrilled with Keeper, the new Double Fine joint. I'm glad Double Fine's doing another game.
Yeah.
I think that it's going to be an indie. I think it's going to be one of those darling games that's critically acclaimed and people love, but I don't think it's going to do super well. Overall, I think that the showcase was decent. I think, again, the biggest thing was just kind of coming out and being like, first of all, Game Freak, the Pokemon developers, are developing a game that's coming to Xbox. That was kind of crazy. So, and I'm interested in Beasts of Reincarnation or whatever it is. Like, I'm interested just because it's Game Freak. That's really it.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had a strong showcase. It certainly wasn't my favorite showcase. I probably give it like a 7. I think that, again, the sheer number of games that were like Game Pass, and everything being Play Anywhere, wherever, that whole like, this is an Xbox thing, being a thing. They almost made me go, maybe an Xbox handheld wouldn't be so bad in my future. I don't need it though. You know what I mean? And it'll definitely be based on price point and what they do. I like that there's 2 of them. There's a black one and a white one.
Yeah. I saw the difference. Well, I know the black one was the terabyte one. I didn't see what the size was for the white one.
Yeah, look, I think that being able to download games directly to it, play games directly off of it, as well as play games out of the cloud, which again, I don't know what they're doing I guess you just have to be on Wi-Fi, you know what I mean? And it is what it is. However you get that Wi-Fi, I'd like to see something about it. Tell me that it's got a great HDMI output. So if you take it to a hotel or whatever, like you like tell me that. Give me a reason to go into a handheld. If you don't really travel, you know what I mean, like that. But again, the idea of being able to kind of like just always have it with you and pick up and play wherever you are, like one thing that Xbox has done better than anybody else in gaming period, it has been like how their cloud saves work, and just like having your stuff be like seamless and just be able to jump in and jump out and whatever. It works better than anything else anybody else has ever done. As a whole, for the week,
Mhm.
right? This, and I guess the great pantheon of what used to be E3. How do you feel like this year stacks up?
Overall, I think it was pretty good. Taking bits and pieces from a little bit of everybody that we got to see and see what they had to show. I think it was solid overall. If you look at it from just the whole package of everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I forgot to mention?
What?
There was a joint they showed, the Xbox joint called "There Are No Ghosts at the Grand."
Yes.
Hey, bro, listen. I thought that joint was like a hotel, like you gonna rebuild a hotel and, like, you know what I'm saying, make your town kind of like simulator or something like that.
More than that.
Way more than that.
Yeah.
I'm all in. I'm like all in. And they also, not at one of these, but they also announced that Escape Academy 2 is coming out, dog, and we might have some work to do. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
All
I
right.
think overall this week was okay.
Mhm.
There isn't, you know, they have tried to recreate some of the pomp and circumstance of what like E3 used to be, and it just isn't there. And so I think that because we've gotten so used to getting information at directs and showcases and whatever throughout the year, that now when they do this, it just feels like they're all kind of doing it all at once, which is nice to an extent. But it's hard to measure like what should really be a big announcement and what do you hold for this versus announcing it somewhere else or whatever. I love the amount of dates that we got for stuff that's coming out. Um, you know, it looks like next year is going to be pretty heavily stacked. Um, but as a whole, I just feel like it was okay. It felt a little regular and sort of unassuming. Like, I just think like if it wasn't quote unquote SGF week and PlayStation had just been like, we're doing a state of play, and um they had announced that it was like, I don't know, this Marvel fighting game, I think it would have been the same amount of noise. You know what I mean? Um Andrew says, "Hey guys, Call of Duty is coming out this year, but a new Black Ops. I need new stories. Call of Duty." And again, I think, look, so this is taking place. This story, I didn't specifically hear that this was coming this year. I think that's good if you heard that. I didn't see that. Um, I know that what they did say about it, there was a press release or something that was released around it that did say that it like takes place in 2035, and it looks like, you know, they're doing some kind of future tech stuff and changing things up. So even though Call of Duty is Black Ops this year, it looks like it's taking place outside of the norm with the normal characters you would know from Black Ops and so forth. So, you know, maybe it'll work. This time, Andrew, I'm not sure. But again, leaning into like, oh, let's really actually focus on the story and really try to give people a reason to get into Call of Duty that isn't the multiplayer. I think it's an important step. So, I played probably the first like third of the Black Ops 6 campaign, and I'll be honest, the reason why I didn't keep playing it is because I absolutely hate the interface. I absolutely hate the UI. It just like, it feels so cumbersome and
Mhm.
overwhelming to navigate. Like, if I just want to get in Call of Duty and play the story, why are there so many things in here? Just so many things that are in the way of me just let me just get in and play the game
Mhm.
and get out, right? But having it tied to Warzone and then tied to multiplayer that's Black Ops 6 but isn't Warzone, even though Warzone is free, and then having zombies, and zombies is a separate section, and they're all different downloads and they all eat up all of your hard drive space. It just feels like, take a second, step back, let's reiterate. Everything can't be the MCU, dog. Everything doesn't need a universe where everything has to be connected in this one place where like everything is there. It just feels very cumbersome. And playing Call of Duty Black Ops 6 for me this year felt like logging into Netflix and spending 2 hours trying to figure out what to watch because there's so many options and it's not truthfully well curated. And I think that like AI can only do so much in terms of curating the thing that you're looking for, because it doesn't really do that. It curates the things that it thinks you're interested in because you have watched something else, or because you watched a trailer for something else, because you got up and you walked out of the room and let the trailer play for something, and then the algorithm's like, oh, they let the trailer play, so they probably like this. And so it's just I feel like Call of Duty is kind of in that place, and I'm hoping that there's maybe some new direction being given to this. They didn't say what team was making it that I saw, but again, that kind of back and forth always changes things. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see, how that all stacks up and what that all means. I think I'd give the week overall. I could maybe give it a 7.5.
Okay.
It might be an 8, given everything. It might be. I'm not gonna hold you. Clockwork Revolution looked incredible.
It does. It really does.
It looked incredible. We're not getting it anytime soon.
Yeah.
We're not getting it anytime. Andrew said Raven and Treyarch are making this one, so they back at it together again. What would have solidified this week is like the 4th best week in gaming ever would have been like Microsoft being like, Marvel Ultimate Alliance is 1 and 2. It's coming back to Game Pass, and I'd have been like, well, turn it off. I don't even need.
Let me go boot up the box right now.
Yeah, let me just go make some space. You know what I mean? Something else is getting out of the way. As far as the handheld is concerned, Sin, does that interest you at all?
I mean, as a gamer, yeah. Like, I want to know more about it. Like, what's the battery life and the connectivity and all that kind of stuff. I would like to know those things. I imagine
it's very similar to what's out there already.
Yeah, I want to know stuff like that. Whether I'm gonna get one or not, I don't know. We'll see when they get to breaking it down and talking about all things it's capable of. But it was more so a shock seeing it. Like, oh, okay.
Was it really?
Like,
you didn't think they were gonna show it?
Yeah. So I was like, oh, once I started seeing the shape, I was like, oh, okay, we're about to see it. Okay, cool.
I mean, I was pretty sure we'd see it. You know what I mean? Like, again, it fit with all the rumors we heard, and everything we saw. Like, oh, nah, it's coming this year. It's gonna be a thing. Like, it's not, I think price point is gonna be the biggest factor, across the board. I think that's just gonna be the hardest part. What I would have loved for them to do would be like, oh yeah, that little memory card we made you buy for your series, it plugs right into this joint.
Hey,
I'd have been like, oh, curtains. Let's make it happen. All right, so decent week overall for gaming.
Yeah.
I'm sure that we'll get some more deep dives between now and when we do weekly on Tuesday, but looking forward to talking a little bit more and getting some of Jokes' opinions on what this week in gaming was like. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, hanging out with us while we discussed the Summer Games Fest week. What are we calling this week, Sin? Right now, I'm just calling it not E3.
Either that or Summer Games Fest week is one.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Then it's not E3.
All right. We'll go with that. Yeah. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you guys on Tuesday for Loading Snacks Weekly Live. Appreciate y'all. We're out. Toodles and loose.
Loading Snacks.